I pray in your holy name. Amen.
Amen. We'll be led in the Pledge of Allegiance by our Senate page, Cameron Sears.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Senator Pierce will be recorded present at this order of business, as will Senator Hagedorn. Then we'll advance to the third order of business, reading and correction of the journal. Before advancing, however, Senator Keogh will be recorded present in the second order of business. Senate will advance to the third order of business. Senate is in the third order of business.
March 14th, 2013. The Judiciary and Rules Committee reports that the Senate Journal of the proceedings of March 13th, 2013 was read and approved as corrected. Lodge Chairman.
Without objection, the journal will be filed in the office of the Secretary. Senator Davis.
Mr. President, I ask unanimous consent to advance to the fifth order of business.
Hearing no objection, the Senate will advance to the fifth order of business, petitions, resolutions, and memorials. Senator Davis.
Mr. President, I ask unanimous consent that all petitions, resolutions, and memorials be read by number, author, and title only, and the journal show they've been read at length.
Hearing no objection, is so ordered.
In the Senate, Senate Concurrent Resolution Number 125 by State Affairs Committee, a concurrent resolution stating legislative findings and approving administrative rules that impose a fee or charge with stated exceptions and rejecting certain agency rules that are not approved. In the Senate, Senate Concurrent Resolution Number 126 by State Affairs Committee, a concurrent resolution stating legislative findings and approving and extending temporary rules reviewed by the legislature.
Senate Concurrent Resolution 125 and Senate Concurrent Resolution 126 will be referred to the Judiciary and Rules Committee for printing.
There is no further business in the fifth order, Mr. President.
Senate will advance to the sixth order of business, reports of standing committees.
March 13th, 2013, the State Affairs Committee reports out House Bill 220 and House Concurrent Resolution 12 and recommend that they do pass. McKenzie, Chairman.
House Bill 220 will be referred to the 12th order of business, second reading calendar, and House Concurrent Resolution number 12 will be referred to the 10th order of business and held for one legislative day.
March 13th, 2013, the Finance Committee reports out House Bill 269, 270, Senate Bills 1160, 1161, 1162, 1163, and Senate Bill 1164 and recommend that they do pass. Cameron, Chairman.
House Bills 269 and 270 and Senate Bills 1160, 1161, 1162, 1163, and 1164 will be referred to the 12th order of business, second reading calendar.
March 13th, 2013, the Resources and Environment Committee reports it has had under consideration the gubernatorial appointment of Linda Mitchell to the Lake Pend Oreille Basin Commission, term to expire July 24th, 2015. The committee recommends that said appointment be confirmed by the Senate. Pierce, Chairman.
The gubernatorial appointment of Linda Mitchell to the Lake Pend Oreille Basin Commission will be referred to the 10th order of business and held for one legislative day.
March 13th, 2013, the Resources and Environment Committee reports out House Concurrent Resolution 14, Senate Bills 1155, 1156, and Senate Bill 1157 and recommend that they do pass. Pierce, Chairman.
House Concurrent Resolution number 14 will be referred to the 10th order of business and held for one legislative day. Senate Bills 1155, 1156, and 1157 will be referred to the 12th order of business, second reading calendar. Senator Brackett will be recorded present in this order of business.
March 13th, 2013, the Judiciary and Rules Committee reports out House Bill 102, Senate Bill 1060, Senate Bill 1123, and Senate Bill 1136 and recommend that they do pass. Lodge, Chairman.
House Bill 102 and Senate Bills 1060, 1123, and 1136 will be referred to the 12th order of business, second reading calendar.
March 13th, 2013, the Local Government and Taxation Committee reports out Senate Bill 1047 with the recommendation that it be referred to the 14th order of business for amendment. Sit away, Chairman.
Without objection, Senate Bill 1047 will be referred to the 14th order of business for possible amendment.
March 13, 2013, the Local Government and Taxation Committee reports out House Bill 244 and recommend that it do pass. Sit-away, Chairman.
House Bill 244 will be referred to the 12th order of business, second reading calendar.
There is no further business in the sixth order, Mr. President.
Mr. President, I ask unanimous consent to advance to the eighth order of business.
Hearing no objection, the Senate will advance to the 8th order of business, messages from the Governor.
March 13, 2013, the Honorable Brad Little, President of the Senate. Dear Mr. President, I have the honor to advise you that I have signed today and am transmitting to the Secretary of State the following Senate bills to wit: Senate Bill 1001, Senate Bill 1003 as amended, Senate Bill 1004, Senate Bill 1027, Senate Bill 1031, Senate Bill 1101, 1102, 1103, and Senate Bill 1104. As always, Idaho, C.L. Butch Otter, Governor of Idaho.
Correspondence from the Governor will be filed in the office of the Secretary.
There is no further business in the eighth order, Mr. President.
Senate will advance to the 9th order of business, messages from the House.
March 13, 2013. Mr. President, I transmit herewith House Bill 248, which has passed the House. Alexander, Chief Clerk.
House Bill 248 will be referred to the 11th order of business for introduction.
There is no further business in the ninth order, Mr. President.
Senate will advance to the 10th order of business, motions and resolutions.
Mr. President.
Senator Davis.
Mr. President, is Senate Concurrent Resolution 124 in this order of business?
Senate Concurrent Resolution 124 is in the 10th order of business.
Mr. President, I'm going to, with your permission, make a unanimous consent request, and that is that pursuant to Rule 9F, that we make a typographical or clerical correction to page 2 of the bill, substituting the word combat in the stead of compact on line 25 of page 2. May I explain?
Senator has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Careful eyes looking at the concurrent resolution to honor our military service personnel yesterday caught that it had the word compact instead of combat. Clearly a clerical error, and the purpose of the unanimous consent request will allow us to put on the internet and in the bill books the bill with that changed language. Thank you, Mr. President.
You've heard the unanimous consent request. Is there objection? Hearing none, it is so ordered. Senator Bayer and Senator Cameron will be recorded present at this order of business.
Mr. President.
Senator Davis.
Mr. President, I ask unanimous consent to advance to the 11th order of business.
Hearing no objection, the Senate will advance the 11th order of business, first reading of bills.
Mr. President, I ask unanimous consent that all bills on first reading be read by number, author, and title only, and the journal shall have been read at length.
Hearing no objection, so ordered.
In the Senate, Senate Bill number 1166 by State Affairs Committee, an act relating to domestic cervidae to provide for the submission of brain tissue from certain domestic cervidae to official laboratories for the purpose of testing for chronic wasting disease. In the Senate, Senate Bill number 1167 by Finance Committee, an act appropriating monies to the Secretary of State for fiscal year 2014. In the Senate, Senate Bill number 1168 by Finance Committee, an act appropriating monies to the Idaho Public Television for fiscal year 2014. In the Senate, Senate Bill number 1169 by Finance Committee, an act appropriating monies to the Board of Tax Appeals for fiscal year 2014. In the Senate, Senate Bill number 1170 by Finance Committee, an act appropriating monies to the Soil and Water Conservation Commission for fiscal year 2014. In the Senate, Senate Bill number 1171 by Finance Committee, an act appropriating monies to the Department of Agriculture for fiscal year 2014. In the Senate, Senate Bill number 1172 by Finance Committee, an act appropriating monies to the Lava Hot Springs Foundation for fiscal year 2014. In the Senate, Senate Bill number 1173 by Finance Committee, an act appropriating monies to the Department of Parks and Recreation for fiscal year 2014. In the Senate, Senate Bill number 1174 by Finance Committee, an act appropriating monies to the Department of Commerce for fiscal year 2014. In the Senate, Senate Bill number 1175 by Finance Committee, an act appropriating monies to the State Tax Commission for fiscal year 2014. In the Senate, Senate Bill number 1176 by Finance Committee, an act appropriating monies to the Catastrophic Health Care Fund and directing a transfer for fiscal year 2014. In the Senate, Senate Bill number 1177 by Finance Committee, an act appropriating monies to the Superintendent of Public Instruction for fiscal year 2014. In the Senate, Senate Bill number 1178 by Finance Committee, an act appropriating monies to the State Treasurer for fiscal year 2014.
Senate bills 1166, 1167, 1168, 1169, 1170, 1171, 1172, 1173, 1174, 1175, 1176, 1177, and 1178 will be referred to the Judiciary and Rules Committee for printing.
In the House of Representatives, House Bill number 248 by Health and Welfare Committee, an act relating to the Health Insurance Exchange, to establish the exchange and the board and to provide for powers and authority of the exchange.
House Bill 248 will be referred to the Commerce and Human Resources Committee.
There is no further business in the 11th order, Mr. President.
Senate will advance to the 12th order of business, second reading of bills. Senator Davis.
Mr. President, I ask unanimous consent that all bills on second reading be read by number and author only, and the journal shall have been read at length.
Hearing no objection, it is so ordered.
In the House of Representatives, House Bill number 214 by Health and Welfare Committee. In the House of Representatives, House Bill number 224 by Education Committee.
House Bill number 214 and House Bill number 224 will be referred to the 13th order of business, third reading calendar.
There is no further business in the 12th order, Mr. President.
Senate will advance to the 13th order of business, third reading of bills. Senator Lakey.
Mr. President, is Senate Bill 1114 as amended in this order of business?
It is.
Senator, I've been informed that it is.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I would ask unanimous consent that Senate Bill 1114 as amended be held until the next legislative day. May I explain?
Senator has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senators, sometimes it takes just a little bit of extra time to get that sausage recipe just right, and we're right there. We've had some good work done on the fiscal note, and we should be ready to present this tomorrow.
Hearing no objection, Senate Bill 1114 as amended will hold its place on the calendar for one legislative day.
Mr. President,
Senator Davis.
similarly, is House Bill 142 as amended in the Senate in this order of business?
House Bill 142 as amended in the Senate is in this order of business.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would ask unanimous consent that the bill hold its place on the legislative calendar for one legislative day. May I explain?
Senator has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senators, again, careful eyes on the floor, looking at the language in the bill, have a technical question as to whether the wording is quite right. And so we just need today to make sure that the legal beagles can look at it and either help us have confidence or alternatively give us another chance to improve the legislation.
Hearing no objection, it is so ordered, and House Bill 142 as amended in the Senate will hold its place on the calendar for one legislative day. Senator Fulcher will be recorded as present with this order of business. The Senate now has before it for final consideration Senate Bill 1152. Secretary will read the bill.
In the Senate, Senate Bill number 1152 by Finance Committee, an act appropriating monies to the Division of Professional Technical Education for fiscal year 2014, providing guidance for employee compensation, exempting appropriation object transfer limitations for the post-secondary program, and providing non-general fund reappropriation for fiscal year 2014.
Mr. President.
Senator Mortimer.
Mr. President, I ask unanimous consent that further reading of Senate Bill 1152 be dispensed with and the journal show it has been read the third time at length, section by section, and placed before the Senate for final consideration.
Hearing no objection, is so ordered. Senator Mortimer is recognized to open debate on the bill.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senators, this is the fiscal year 2014 appropriation for the Division of Professional Technical Education in the amount of $58,738,300. PTE has 5 budgeted programs that include State Leadership and Technical Assistance for $2,277,100, general programs that provide secondary students with professional technical programs and adults with workforce training for $15,472,500. These programs are found in 110 school districts. Post-secondary programs that provide college students with opportunities to obtain the 2-year degrees and shorter-term certificates is also in this budget for $35,577,700. These programs are found at the 6 technical colleges. The Underprepared Displaced Homemakers Program for $1,917,300. This program includes funding for the Centers for New Directions at each of the 6 technical colleges. Another program is the Related Services Program, which provides adult basic education and general educational development, or the GED program, and state employee training for $3,493,700. This appropriation includes $180,100 of one-time general funds for replacement equipment at the 6 technical colleges, and additionally, there is $472,500 appropriated for enrollment increases at the technical high schools. This budget reflects a 1.4% increase in general funds. Mr. President, debate is open.
Debate being open, is there further debate? Senator Durst.
Mr. President, debate against the bill.
Senator has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just a quick analysis for the benefit of the senator, maybe it's because I need to say it, as the good senator from 33 points out. In fiscal year 2008, which is the last fiscal year that came almost identical to what the fiscal year 14 budget is, PTE had a higher appropriation with less students. This appropriation is not only does this not meet the same or similar level of funding from fiscal year 2008 when we had less students, it does worse when we have more students and less money to spend on them. I think this indicates a lack of priorities in the spending of our appropriations, and I'll be voting no.
Is there further debate? Senator Cameron.
Mr. President, just to make a comment or two, my appreciation to a good senator from 30 who worked very hard on this budget, and had he and I had our desires, we probably would have had some more money in here. But I would also point out to the members of the body that almost every budget you will vote on this session is below 2008, and some are even still below 2009. That's because our economy has not recovered to where it was in 2008 and 2009. These budgets are fairly skinny, and there are very few added items to it, and that's just as a result of where the economy is at today. Although it's improving, it's not improving at the pace that it once was. Thank you, Mr. President.
Is there further debate? Hearing none, Senator Mortar is recognized to close debate.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you, Senator from 27, for giving that additional insight. And Senator from 18, I do acknowledge, and I think we all acknowledge, that this is a very important program for our state. It is part of that complete college program that we're trying to get there, and we did look desperately to try and find additional revenues or money for this budget. It is important to note that there is $472,500 that we are putting into this over what we did last year. And with that, Mr. President, debate is closed.
Debate being closed, the question is, shall Senate Bill 1152 pass the Senate? Secretary will call the roll.
Bach, Brackett, Buckner-Webb, Cameron, Davis, Durst, Fulcher, Getty, Guthrie, Hagedorn, Hyder, Hill,
Aye.
Johnson, Keogh, Lacey, Blakey, Lodge, Martin, McKenzie, Mortimer, Nonini, Nuxel, Patrick, Pierce, Rice, Schmidt, Sidaway, Stennett, Thane, Tippett, Fick, Work, Winder, McKenzie, Sidaway,
Roll call shows 33 aye, 1 nay, 1 absent or excused. A majority having voted in the affirmative, Senate Bill 1152 has passed the Senate. Is there correction to the title? Hearing none, title is approved, and Senate Bill 1152 will be transmitted to the House of Representatives. The Senate now has before it for final consideration Senate Bill 1153. The Secretary will read the bill.
In the Senate, Senate Bill number 1153 by Finance Committee, an act reducing the appropriation to the Catastrophic Health Care Cost Fund and directing a transfer for fiscal year.
Senator Schmidt.
Mr. President, I ask unanimous consent that further reading of Senate Bill 1153 be dispensed with, and the journal show it's been read at length a third time, section by section, and placed before the Senate for final consideration.
Hearing no objection is so ordered, and Senator Schmidt is recognized to open debate on the bill.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is an appropriation bill, but it isn't skinny. This is actually money coming back to the general fund, and you need to understand this. And I'd like to point out that this is from the Catastrophic Health Care Fund, and if you have any questions about that, the senator from 28 would be glad to answer them. But if not, let me give you a little bit of background. The Catastrophic Health Care Fund provides support for counties who are obligated through our statute to pay for indigent health care costs. Now, this is quite a historical thing because it goes way back to the territorial statutes and the determination that counties should pay for people's health care bills when they can't pay for them. So this has been a big deal in the state of Idaho for the last few years. This cost is growing. So you may be asking, why are you getting money back this year? Well, I think we spent 6 hours in here a few weeks ago talking about the changing healthcare climate in our country and in our state. And because of some things that have changed, costs for this program have actually gone down. The Catastrophic Health Care Fund, through statute that we passed a year ago and then a year before that, has been allowed to shift people from being indigent to being insured on the pre-existing condition health care plan. Because of that, we can return $6 million to the Idaho General Fund, and that's what this bill does. The impression is that some of this will be ongoing cost decreases. But anyway, this bill, Senate Bill 1153, has seen significant expenditure decrease for the Catastrophic Health Care Fund. So this is a reappropriation for the 2013 budget, not 2014, but 2013. You'll be hearing about 2014 in a few days. Anyway, so if you have questions, I'd be glad to answer them. This is a very interesting turn of events, and I hope you can support receiving back $6 million to the general fund. Debate is open.
Debate being open, is there further debate? Hearing none, Senator Schmidt is recognized to close debate.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. President. I ask for your support. Debate is closed.
Debate being closed, the question is, shall Senate Bill 1153 pass the Senate? Secretary will call the roll.
Baer, Bayer, Bach, Brackett, Buckner-Webb, Cameron, Davis, Durst, Fulcher, Getty, Guthrie, Hagedorn, Hyder, Hill,
Aye.
Johnson, Keogh, Lacey, Lakey, Lodge, Martin, McKenzie, Mortimer, Nonini, Nuxel, Patrick, Pierce, Rice, Schmidt, Sidaway, Stennett, Thane, Tippett, Fick, Work, Winder, Brackett, Cameron, Davis,
Senator Brackett, on the final passage of Senate Bill 1153, how does the senator vote after you sit down? Senator Brackett, you do understand that's not your seat. Senator still vote aye? Senator Davis, on the final passage of Senate Bill 1153, how does the senator vote? Senator votes aye.
Fulcher? Getty? McKenzie? Winder?
Roll call shows 34 aye, no nays, 1 absent or excused. Majority having voted in the affirmative, Senate Bill 1153 has passed the Senate. Is there a correction to the title? Hearing none, title is approved, and Senate Bill 1153 will be transmitted to the House of Representatives. The Senate now has before it for final consideration Senate Bill 1154. Secretary will read the bill.
In the Senate, Senate Bill number 1154 by Finance Committee.
Mr. President.
Senator Schmidt.
Mr. President, I ask unanimous consent that further reading of Senate Bill 1154 be dispensed with, and the journal show it's been read at length a third time, section by section, and placed before the Senate for final and proper consideration.
Hearing no objection, is so ordered. Senator Schmidt from District 5 is recognized to open debate on the bill.
Thank you, Mr. President. This also, fellow senators, is an appropriation bill. This is for the fiscal year 2014 for the funding for the Idaho Commission for Libraries. This is in the amount of $4,764,100 with full-time equivalent positions capped at 40 1/2. It includes a $27,500 increase for the cost of health care and retirement benefits, a $27,800 increase in contract inflation, and it removes $4,100 from statewide cost allocation plus one line item with a net zero fund impact, making this a maintenance of current operations budget only. And this is what the senator from 27 was referring to. This is a skinny budget. We have supported various programs in the Commission for Libraries. This bill reflects maintenance appropriation in addition to one line item that shifts $224,400 in federal grants funds from trustee and benefit payments to operating expenditures. This shift will better align the Commission's budget with actual spending practices. Furthermore, the Commission recently received a new grant award and needs appropriation from the operating expenditures object class. This fund shift is recommended by the gentleman on the second floor, making the total fiscal year 2014 appropriation for the Idaho Commission for Libraries at $4,764,100. You need to understand that even though that is a big number, that is a overall 12% decrease from fiscal year 13. In general funds, that's a 1.4% increase. In dedicated funds, it's actually a 90% decrease, but in federal funds, it's a 0.5% increase. So this is the Idaho Commission on the Libraries. Mr. President, debate is open.
Debate being open, is there further debate? Hearing none, Senator Schmidt is recognized to close debate.
Thank you, Mr. President. Debate is closed.
Debate being closed, the question is, shall Senate Bill 1154 pass the Senate? Senator Winder.
President. Thank you, Mr. President. I ask unanimous consent the roll call vote used for the passage of Senate Bill 1153 be now used for the passage of Senate Bill 1154.
For the unanimous consent request, is there objection? Hearing none, it is so ordered. The roll call shows 34 aye, 0 nay, 1 absent or excused. A majority having voted in the affirmative, Senate Bill 1154 has passed the Senate. Is there correction to the title? Hearing none, title is approved, and Senate Bill 1154 will be transmitted to the House. Senate now has before it for final consideration Senate Bill 1133 as amended. Secretary will read the bill.
In the Senate, Senate Bill number 1133 as amended by Judiciary and Rules Committee. an act relating to school security plans by the addition of a new section to
Mr.
establish...
President.
Senator Hagedorn.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would ask unanimous consent for the reading of Senate Bill 1133 as amended be dispensed with, and the general show it's been read a third time at length, section by section, and placed before the Senate for final consideration.
Hearing no objection is so ordered. Senator Hagedorn is recognized to open debate.
Thank you, Mr. President. Ladies and gentlemen, 1133, Senate Bill 1133 is an outline or framework for school security plans throughout the state. Currently, we have many schools throughout the state and districts throughout the state that have security plans, work very closely with law enforcement. However, they're not consistent across the state. This bill authorizes and allows and brings together law enforcement, the sheriffs of every county or their designee, who is the chief law enforcement authority in the county and elected. It also brings the trustees or their designee together, and the trustees are all elected. And those folks come together and build a security plan based on a common threat assessment that the Department of Education is putting together. Currently, the Department of Education has a task force that's been assigned by the governor to understand what our security posture is at schools throughout the state. And that task force will come to us next year and fill in some of the blanks within the framework that we've outlined within this security plan. This Senate Bill 1133 as amended ensures that our security plan, that all communications around those security plans by school is done in a secure manner so bad guys can't get hold of things that might help them do nefarious acts. It does allow for a general and overall report of the security assessment of Idaho schools in general. The task force is working on that to make sure that that happens. That's part of their charter. This bill was formed through the governor's, or excuse me, through the gentleman on the second floor's office, the Department of Education. We've had some amendments proposed and included by the State Board of School Boards and our law enforcement officials. This is not completed. This will start in school year 2014-2015, but it allows all of the folks that have the core competencies of education and safety, public safety, to come together and build the plans in a common methodology to ensure that our children are as safe as they can be, and teachers and children can focus on education and not what might be around the next tree. So with that, Mr. President, I would hope for your support, and debate is open.
Debate being open, is there further debate? Hearing none, Senator Hagedorn is recognized to close debate.
Thank you, Mr. President. Debate is closed.
Debate being closed, the question is, shall Senate Bill 1133 as amended pass the Senate? Secretary will call the roll.
Baer. Bayer. Bach. Brackett. Buckner-Webb. Cameron. Davis. Durst.
Mr. President.
Senator Durst.
Mr. President, I'd ask 60 seconds to explain my vote, please.
The senator has 1 minute to explain his vote.
Thank you, Mr. President. It should take 15 seconds. I think that this legislation is a good idea. I think it's incomplete, much like taking a turkey out of the oven before it's done. I think this could have negative impacts, and I'll be voting no.
Senator Durst votes no.
Fulcher. Getty. Guthrie. Hagedorn. Hyder. Hill.
Aye.
Johnson. Keogh. Lacey. Lakey. Lodge. Martin. McKenzie. Mortimer. Nonini. Nuxel. Patrick. Pierce. Rice. Schmidt.
Senator Schmidt.
Mr. President, to explain my vote.
Senator has 60 seconds.
Thank you, Mr. President. So it's been a pleasure to serve on the Joint Finance and Appropriation Committee this year to see how we spend our money. And it's always been a balance to try to understand the role between policy and funding. And in my opinion, this is a policy bill. and we are directing our institutions of secondary learning to provide safety for our children. I'm expecting the funding and the support to follow. Thank you, Mr. President. I'll vote aye.
Senator Schmidt votes aye.
Sidaway? Stinnett? Thane? Tippett? Vick? Work? Winder? Bach? Buckner-Webb? McKenzie?
Roll call shows 33 aye, 1 nay, 1 absent or excused. The majority having voted in the affirmative, Senate Bill 1133 as amended has passed the Senate. Is there correction to the title? Hearing none, title is approved, and Senate Bill 1133 as amended will be transmitted to the House. The Senate now has before it for final consideration Senate Bill 1138 as amended. Secretary will read the bill.
In the Senate, Senate Bill number 1138 as amended by State Affairs Committee, an act relating to the Local Planning Act to provide that overlay zoning districts...
Mr. President.
Senator Tippett.
Mr. President, I ask unanimous consent to further reading of Senate Bill 1138 as amended in the Senate be dispensed with. In the Journal show it's been read the third time at length, section by section, and placed before the Senate for final consideration.
Hearing no objection is so ordered. Senator Tippett is recognized to open debate on the bill.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senators, I'd like to give you just a little history on the genesis of Senate Bill 1138. Some months ago, a group of residents in one of the counties that I represent approached myself and Representative Mark Gibbs and others about some frustrations that they had with the local land use planning process in their county. One of their primary concerns was that in some areas of the county, it seemed to them that it was very difficult, and in fact they believed nearly impossible, to get approval for building or development on their own property. It seemed to them that it was difficult to even get a clear answer of what they would have to do in order to get approval for a permit to build or develop. In addition to the problems currently existing, multiple overlay zones have been proposed in the county, and I went on the website recently and looked at a list of those overlay zoning districts, and here's just a sample. Big game migration corridors and seasonal range, water bird migration, foraging habitat, water bird breeding, migration, foraging, wintering habitat, songbird raptor breeding and wintering habitat, sharp-tailed grouse breeding and wintering habitat, priority wetland habitat, perennial and seasonal trout habitat. And in some areas, there's several of these overlay districts on the same piece of ground. Well, some landowners have actually gone to great expense over an extended period of time only to find that they were denied permits to build. And as I previously mentioned, they were left wondering what they would have to do in order to get approval to build or develop their property, or frankly, if it was even possible. So changes to the zoning statutes were proposed to solve this problem. But some felt the changes went too far and placed unreasonable restrictions on the abilities of cities and counties to enact appropriate zoning ordinances. So interested parties were pulled together to find a solution. I can't take credit for getting that group together or for the work that they did. Others accomplished that. But I think the product that they came up with is a very good product, and I want to extend a special thanks to the senator from 33 for facilitating the solution that we have here today in Senate Bill 1138 as it's been amended. With input then from the cities and county organizations and landowner representatives from that area, over the last several weeks, the group has been able to reach consensus on the legislation that is before you. This legislation does not seek to strip local government of their planning authority, but it does seek to provide some clarity surrounding the process, and it codifies some best practices related to local land use planning. Here's what the bill does specifically. It amends Code Section 676511 to require that overlay zoning districts include clear and objective standards for evaluating applications. It states that overlay district standards must not constitute a regulatory taking pursuant to Idaho or federal law. And it amends Code Section 676522 to prohibit enactment of a local ordinance that would abrogate the statutory authority of a public health district, state, or federal agency. There were some that felt like that was happening as well. and it amends Section 676535 to require that approval standards and criteria must be set forth in express terms in land use ordinances, and that decisions regarding compliance or noncompliance with standards must be expressed in written zoning decisions whenever the nature of the standard or criterion allows. So we're trying to provide some clarity and some specificity to the process. Changes to Section 676535 also specify that failure to identify the nature of compliance or noncompliance with express approval standards can be grounds for reversal of a decision upon appeal. Further, the bill seeks to assure that decision criteria are addressed at the local level rather than moving matters directly to an appellate court. And I think all of the parties involved felt like this was a major improvement. Any affected person can, excuse me, and the senator from 33 tells me that affected person is defined in the code, so we don't have an expansion here. But any affected person can contest a final decision by identifying specific deficiencies within 14 days of the final decision being issued. The final decision maker, which of course would be the city or the county, would then have up to 60 days from the date of the reconsideration request to revisit its decision and either affirm, modify, or reverse the initial ruling in accordance with appropriate procedures. That happens again before we end up throwing the matter into appellate court. The appellate time limitations, excuse me again. The appellate time limitations would be told while the reconsideration is being addressed, and no appeal could be brought unless reconsideration had been sought. The intent is to allow decision makers an opportunity to reevaluate the initial decision if it's contested, rather than burden all parties with the expense of going to court. So this is not everything that some residents of the county would want, but they believe it will be a significant help to them, and they're very supportive of this legislation. The city and county organizations likewise support the legislation because they believe that it makes some important improvements to the language in the code dealing with zoning ordinances, and as I previously mentioned, they view it as frankly codifying some best practices, and many of the counties, and maybe most, are already practicing this way. Senators, I'm not aware of any opposition to the legislation. I think it's a great improvement to these sections of code, and I would appreciate your support. Mr. President, debate is open.
The debate. Senator Lakey.
Mr. President, thank you. Senators, I also think this is a good bill. It strikes the right balance, I think, between property rights, which is one of our most basic and important rights that we have as citizens, and also balances with that the need and the ability of local officials that are elected to make these decisions, to make decisions. But it provides for clear and objective criteria that those officials need to apply to the facts. It does recognize best practices. As a county commissioner, we used to defer to Southwest District Health when it came to septic systems. We would defer to the Department of Lands when it came to reclamation plans for gravel pits. It also provides for a reconsideration process, and that's something that wasn't consistently applied throughout the state. Some cities and counties had a reconsideration process, some didn't. This provides for that. It gives the elected body a chance to step back a little bit and take another serious look at their decision before things proceed to court. So I'd ask for your vote in favor of the bill.
For the debate. Senator Rice.
Mr. President, members of the Senate, I'm going to support this bill because it does improve protection, but I don't believe that it goes far enough. We have diminished our protection of private property over the years, and the ownership of private property and the protection of private property is the foundation of the standard of living that we all enjoy. It has produced the greatest wealth that's ever existed on the face of the earth. It has created the highest standard of living for the poor among us that has ever existed in any nation. But we no longer protect it as much as we should. We allow too many inroads. We allow too much of the concept that the neighbors should be able to vote on what you can do with your property.
but this bill does provide more protection than we currently have, and so I'll support it, but I don't think it goes far enough.
Further debate? Hearing no further debate, Senator Tippett recognized to close debate.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senators, obviously the two senators who just spoke have far more knowledge in this area than I do. I appreciate the supporting words. I have a lot of sympathy for the sentiments expressed by the senator from 10. But as he mentioned, and as I mentioned, this is a significant step in the right direction. The landowners who had concerns in my district feel like this is a significant help to them, so I'd appreciate your support. Thank you, Mr. President.
Debate being closed. Question is, so Senate Bill 1138 is amended past the Senate. Senator Winder.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd ask unanimous consent the roll call vote used for the passage of Senate Bill 1153 be now used for the passage of Senate Bill 1138 as amended.
Hearing no objection, roll call shows 34 ayes, no nays, one absent, excused, majority having voted affirmative. Senate Bill 1138 is amended as passed the Senate. Their correction to title. Hearing none, title is approved. Senate Bill 1138 is amended to be transmitted to the House. Senate now is for final consideration. Senate Bill 1106 is amended. The Secretary will read the bill.
In the Senate, Senate Bill number 1106, as amended by State Affairs Committee, an act relating to health savings accounts, to provide for health savings accounts for state employees who choose a high
Mr.
deductible.
President.
Senator Thane.
Thank you, Mr. President. I ask unanimous consent that further reading of Senate Bill 1106 is amended be dispensed with and show that it's been read section by section as properly before the
Hearing
Senate.
no objection, Senator Thane is recognized to open debate.
Thank you, Mr. President and Senators. As you know, healthcare costs have been going up quite rapidly in our lifetime. They're up to about 18% of the gross domestic product. And one time in 1965, they were about 5% of the gross domestic product. And even today in Singapore, that's about the level they are, about 5%. And one reason I think that health care costs have gone up so dramatically is that more of the money that we're spending on health care dollars have actually been controlled by insurance companies and federal programs like Medicare and Medicaid, whereas individuals have been spending less and less as time has gone on. And I believe one of the ways to reduce health care costs is to funnel more of the money through individuals. Then they'll start acting a little bit more like consumers. And one of those tools that we have is a health savings account. And if I could, Mr. President, I'd like to read a couple of excerpts from Hoosiers and Health Savings Accounts, March 1st, 2010, from Wall Street Journal.
Having identified the source, Senator may read.
And what this article is about is written by the governor, the then governor of Indiana, who established health savings accounts for their state employees. And I'll just read a couple of his quotes. The HSA option has proven highly popular. This year, over 70% of our 30,000 Indiana state workers chose it. So it was a voluntary program. I'll continue. State employees enrolled in the consumer-driven plan will save more than $8 million in 2010 compared to their coworkers in the old-fashioned preferred provider organization alternative. Then further down, the state is saving too. In times of severe budgetary stress, Indiana will save at least $20 million in 2010 because of our high HSA enrollment. Mercer calculates that the state's total costs are being reduced by 11% solely due to the HSA option. Most importantly, I'll continue, we are seeing significant changes in behavior and consequently lower total costs. In 2009, for example, state workers with HSA visit emergency rooms and physicians 67% less frequently than co-workers with traditional plans. And then the one last paragraph. The Indiana experience confirms what common sense already tells us. A system built on cost plus reimbursement, i.e. the more a physician does, the more he or she gets paid, coupled with free to the purchaser consumption, is a machine perfectly designed to overconsume and overspend. It will never be controlled by top-down balloon squeezing by insurance companies or by the government. So
what this bill does, and that's the end of that I'm going to quote from that article, this bill was written with input from the Department of Administration, and it simply allows the Department of Administration to deposit into a health savings account of a state employee that creates the health savings account, the difference between the high deductible policy and the lowest deductible policy in the state portfolio. Because I don't believe that health savings accounts are really of much value unless they're funded. And so this is what this tries to do, is to come up with a way to fund those accounts. Now, what's interesting about this approach is that it's not going to cost any more money. We're going to use the funding a little bit differently. And what my concern is, if we don't do something like this, the costs will continue, health insurance costs will continue to grow in the state. In 2012, the cost per state employee was $6,714. This year, in 2013, it's $8,224. And in 2014, the cost of insurance alone is $8,858. So this continues to grow, and this year was about total cost increase in health insurance cost was about $9.5 million. So what this bill does is it simply opens the door to make this option more available. It's voluntary. The intent is not to decrease the coverage to state employees, but I simply give them another option. And with that, Mr. President, debate is open.
Further debate? Hearing no further debate, Senator Thames recognized closed debate.
Debate is closed. Thank you, Mr.
Debate being
President.
closed. Question is, till Senate Bill 1106 is amended past the Senate. Secretary will call the roll.
Bear. Bayer. Bach. Brackett. Buckner-Webb. Cameron. Davis. Durst. Fulcher. Getty. Guthrie. Hagedorn. Hyder. Hill. Johnson. Keogh. Lacey. Lakey. Lodge. Martin. McKenzie. Mortimer. Nonini. Nuxel. Patrick. Pierce. Rice. Schmidt. Sidaway. Stennett. Thane. Tippett. Vick. Work. Winder. Bach. Buckner-Webb. Davis. Hill. McKenzie. Sidaway. Stennett.
Roll call shows 30 ayes, 4 nays, 1 absent. Excuse majority having voted in the affirmative. Senate Bill 1106 amended past the Senate. The correction title hearing none. Titles approved, and House Bill 1106 is amended will be transmitted to the House. Senate now has for final consideration House Bill 53. The Secretary will read the bill.
In the House of Representatives, House Bill Number 53 by State Affairs Committee, an act relating to the Bond Bank Authority to clarify salaries for certain members of the Bond Bank Authority. Be it enacted by the legislature.
Senator Davis.
Mr. President, I ask unanimous consent that further reading of the bill be dispensed with. The Journal show has been read at length, section by section, for the third time and placed before us for our final consideration.
Hearing no objection, Senator Davis recognized to open debate.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senators, I realize that I'm not on the Senate calendar, the designated sponsor of the bill, but I do know this legislation. It really is a pretty straightforward bill. Idaho's Constitution provides for and creates the Bond Bank Authority. The Bond Bank Authority, in turn, provides an access to the stock market for municipalities and political subdivisions. It really does provide the funding source for many of these political subdivisions, particularly those with limited resources to the market. It augments and provides a stronger credit rating as they go into the bond market. The statutes provide for revenue intercept mechanisms so that the state of Idaho's exposure is limited to zero. The Bond Bank Authority has a series of very strong policies in place, and those continue to be improved as time goes by. I serve as the Senate's designee on the Bond Bank Authority and have since its inception. Additionally, the code provides for a compensation of $50 to the members of the bond bank for participating in Bond Bank Authority meetings. No, I don't get a check. I don't ask for a check. I serve because I'm a senator, and I find that $16,200 a year is certainly more than enough to compensate me for the service that I render. But the statute, the way it is also written, provides that the state treasurer gets a paycheck of the $50 for attending, and he does attend. He is the chairman of the board and conducts the Bond Bank Authority meetings, and I might add, he does a remarkable job. It's been a good experience to work with our state treasurer. All of that being said, what this bill does is it says that the state treasurer doesn't get the $50. The code section of that's provided in it, 59501, is the code section that provides for the compensation of those in the executive branch, including our Senate president. So this is all the bill does. It'll save us a whopping $50 per meeting. To my knowledge, he's not been asking for reimbursement anyway, and debate is open.
Further debate? Hearing no further debate, Senator Davis recognizes closed debate.
Debate is closed.
Debate being closed. Question is, House Bill 53 passed Senate. Senator Winder.
Thank you, Mr. President. I ask unanimous consent the roll call vote used for the passage of Senate Bill 1153 be now used for the passage of House Bill 53.
Hearing no objection, roll call shows 34 ayes, no nays, one absent excused. Majority having voted in the affirmative. House Bill 53 is passed the Senate. By the correction title, hearing none, the title is approved, and House Bill 53 will be returned to the House and now is for final consideration. House Bill 159. The Secretary will read the bill.
In the House of Representatives, House Bill Number 159 by State Affairs Committee, an act relating to the retail sale of liquor by the drink, to establish additional provisions relating to a license to retail liquor and to make technical corrections.
Mr. President.
Senator Keogh.
Mr. President, I ask unanimous consent that further reading of the bill be dispensed with and that the journal show it's been read the third time at length, section by section, and placed before the Senate for final consideration.
Hearing no objection, Senator Keogh is recognized to open debate.
Thank you, Mr. President and Senators. Before you for your consideration today in this bill is the question of authorizing issuance of a state retail liquor license for the retail sale of liquor by the drink to a federally recognized Indian tribe, which is an owner, operator, or lessee of a food, conference, and lodging facility that would have to be located within the boundaries of the tribe's reservation. Licenses issued under this bill would not be transferable. This specific piece of legislation is being brought to us by the Nez Perce tribe and in relation to an expansion that's occurring on their operation in the Lewis-Clark Valley, right outside of Lewiston on Highway 95. Many of you may wonder why the tribe can't serve alcohol and obtain a state license since they are a sovereign government. The answer is the courts have found that states have concurrent jurisdiction on the issue and distribution of alcoholic beverages in Indian country. That is why the request for this amendment to alcohol licensing statute would provide this license. The packet that you've got has a rendering of the expansion that is occurring on the tribe's casino and hotel that's currently in operation, and this construction is currently underway and quite a bit along. I drove past it last weekend on my return to Boise, and they're rapidly building this facility. This is a multi-million-dollar impact through employment, spending, and attracting tourism to this valley and to the state of Idaho. It's a $16 million economic investment building this conference center to complement its existing hotel and gaming operation. This construction has created 96 jobs and is scheduled for completion in June of this year. Upon completion, this project will create at least 36 more jobs for the area and bring more people to the area by attracting and hosting conferences at the facility. This is an issue of providing a level playing field in order to fully realize the benefits of this investment and to be able to compete with similar facilities not only in the state but in the Northwest. The tribe requests the ability to serve liquor by the drink at the facility and cannot under the existing statutes. Projected increase in economic activity is 38.5% over a 3-year period. The conference and event center can host up to 600 conference attendees. The center would provide seating for up to 1,400 in an entertainment event such as a concert. For comparison purposes, this is just under the size, slightly under the size of the meeting facility at the Grove Hotel. The tribe's hotel currently offers 50 rooms. The lodging demand would increase, resulting in increased hotel occupancy in the Lewis-Clark Valley and surrounding area. This would also help spur demand for dining, shopping, and local tourism with this facility. Annual visitation is expected to increase to over 13%, with over 87,000 guests in the first year. This will generate increased funding for the K-12 system and will increase funding for tribal operations, including social services. This has been endorsed by the Nez Perce County Commissioners, the Economic Development arm of organization, of the Lewis-Clark Valley, the Lewiston Chamber of Commerce, and other organizations. The tribe has made this investment decision to further advance the tribe's economic viability and add to the economic activity for the region. The ability to serve liquor by the drink will add another service that people visiting a convention center desire and increases their ability to compete with other like facilities. And there has been, in existing facilities that they have, there is a loss of business when folks that are trying to site conferences realize that beer and wine is available but not liquor by the drink. Other exemptions currently exist for ski areas and golf courses. This is in line with those in terms of a conference and lodging facility owned by a tribe within the boundaries of the reservation and a non-transferable liquor license. The Nez Perce tribe is not an entity that will leave the state sometime in the future. The tribe has been here for thousands of years and will continue to be in the future. The tribe is tied to this land and has been working in partnership with the state of Idaho and the surrounding communities on many endeavors that seek to help this area. As a sovereign government, the tribes desire to work on a government-to-government basis with the state on this issue and respect the state's regulations. This opportunity for increased economic activity in rural Idaho does not come along very often, and this will be an added asset to that area. And I would point to your specific language on page 4, lines 27 through 32, which again specify exactly what this exception is for, and it very clearly defines this facility or another facility exactly like it. There's not an impact to those that have current liquor licenses because this facility sits outside of the city limits of Lewiston. And the Idaho Lodging and Restaurant Association is favorable, as is the Idaho Licensed Beverage Association, because especially it helps the area and helps everyone in addition to the tribe, and existing licenses will not be devalued. And with that, Mr. President, debate is open.
The debate. Senator Johnson.
Mr. President, to the debate in favor of the bill.
You have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senators, I just want to share maybe a 30,000-foot level at this bill and really what I think is going on here. I am in support of the license, but I just want to raise it up a little bit for you and tell you that in the bigger picture, I think this is really part of a bigger tribal self-sufficiency effort that they're making on the reservation. Business development is extremely important to the tribe because it not only provides jobs to tribal members as well as non-tribal members, but their businesses are a major source of funding for the tribal government, which provides goods and services to tribal members. Revenue from this facility directly benefits tribal government operations and education funding. 65% of net revenue from this enterprise goes to fund tribal programs such as law enforcement, senior services, social services, and health care. This is an idea that has broad support in the community up in the Lewiston area. And Mr. President, if I may read from the Nez Perce Tribe website.
Yes, you may.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is from nezperce.org, and it has to do with their Nez Perce Education, Training, and Small Business plan that they have to bring I guess, direction and new life to their environment there. The purpose is to promote self-determination by creating a dynamic one-stop shop center for learning, teaching, cultural knowledge transmission, and economic empowerment. Its programs will serve all tribal members and people in the region through all stages of their life: birth, childhood, youth, high school, college age, continuing education students, and elders. It will be designed consistent with traditional Nez Perce values and heritage. It will focus on creating opportunities for meaningful employment, cultural knowledge, and lifelong learning. I share this with you because it's not just about an entertainment center with a liquor license. This is part of a bigger plan that the tribe has to be self-sufficient. And I just want to share with you a couple of goals under that vision statement. Goal number 1, and I'll be very brief with these: self-determination, promote self-determination of Nez Perce people. Education, increase education, training, and skilled level for people living on or near the reservation. Remove barriers to education. Increase opportunities and access to higher paying, more professional jobs. Promote wealth building, financial acuity, and economic empowerment on the reservation. Revitalize commerce, increase vibrancy of core areas of reservation communities through local business development, circulate money within the reservation economy, bring dollars in from the outside. They're trying to build their community. Create a center for collaboration, communication, and cross-pollination among tribal programs and services and partner institutions. Increase access to technology and tools for learning, skill building, employment, and business development. Support transmission of cultural knowledge among generations and cultural sharing with non-Nez Perce peoples. Create a space for traditional art and craft work, language transmission, showcasing Nez Perce past and present ways of life. Create economic opportunities through cultural tourism development and practice of traditional skills. Target youth with programs, culture programs, address issues of development at every stage of life. And Mr. President, I want to try something different here. I'm going to go to their website and hit a recording, if I may, for the Senate off Nez Perce door, just to talk about how their cultural programs, how they're trying to use their websites and everything to bring economic development.
Senator, I don't think the rules allow us to do anything but read from text.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Senator. Well, Mr. President, good senators, if you go to nezperce.org, there's a language program on there. You can click on that. And this is the way that they use to communicate with their members to learn their language, which many of them don't speak. And so this is just ways that they're trying to build their community, build their culture, and share that with others. So I look at this liquor license and this convention center really is just part of a bigger plan that they have to be a self-supporting tribe and to provide jobs for their communities, education, and other opportunities. So with that, Mr. President, I would ask for your aye vote. Thank you.
For the debate, Senator Hagedorn.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm going to support this bill, but I would like to point out that just a few years ago, there was an attempt in this body to correct a broken system for issuing liquor licenses that our state has. And this is the second bill, I believe, this year that now we have another one-off that we've got to make an exception when we really should have a comprehensive look, take a good comprehensive look at the system that we currently have and get that corrected. The longer we put that off, the more of these types of bills we are going to see in this body, and pretty soon we're going to have such a conglomeration of liquor licenses and exceptions all over the state, we're going to have a much bigger problem. The issuance of a liquor license is not about drinking. It's about providing services. It's about providing the ability for jobs, entertainment, and economic stimulus that we so desperately need. So we need to really, we need to buck up and grab a hold of our liquor licenses statutes and figure out how to fix that in the next couple of years. I think that's critically important. Thank you, Mr. President.
For the debate,
Mr. President.
Senator Tippett.
Mr. President, would the sponsor yield to a question? Senator from 1.
Senator Keogh.
Mr. President, I would yield.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senator from 1. The Shoshone-Bannock tribes recently built a large conference center and hotel, and I believe that's within the boundaries of the reservation. So could you tell me if they would also qualify for a liquor license under the provisions of this legislation?
Senator Keogh.
Thank you, Mr. President and Senator. I would, if that tribe is federally recognized as is defined in 67-4001, and if which lists the tribes in Idaho that are recognized, federally recognized, and if they meet the qualifications of this section of code, my understanding is yes, it could be. They could get a liquor license under this section for that facility if it met all of these requirements with a minimum of 35,000 square feet and a hotel with at least 50 guest rooms.
Mr. President, for follow-up.
Senator Tippett.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senator from 1. And I see the criteria here, and I understand if they met all that criteria, they would qualify. I was wondering if you had personal knowledge as to whether or not they would qualify under this criterion.
Senator Keogh.
Mr. President and good Senator, no, I do not. I did ask that question and just gave you the answer I received.
Thank you very much.
For the debate, Senator Vick.
Mr. President, a question for the senator from District 1.
Senator Keogh.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'll yield.
Senator Vick.
Mr. President, good Senator, I was just, in your opening debate, you mentioned that there would be funding if this could help funding for K-12 schools. And I was just wondering if you could elaborate to me how that would work, since I don't believe they pay property taxes.
Senator Keogh.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Senator from 2. Economic activity, any economic activity that increases sales tax or income tax in that area that could be impacted by this growth would certainly feed into the state general fund, which provides funding for K-12. The tribe also pays taxes, $739 million in sales taxes and excise taxes, 2.31 in Idaho state income taxes, 9.7 million in annual local and state taxes generated from the tribe's economic activities. I am not as familiar It's been a while, Mr. President and Senator from 2, but there are some, I know I'm more familiar with the tribe in my area, the Kootenays, and know that they make contributions every year from the proceeds of their gaming. And those that know that gaming compact better than I, my vague memory is that part of the compact requires the tribes to give some of the proceeds of their gaming back to the local school districts. If my memory serves me well, then an increase in gaming activity by the increase of the facility and including this license, if it passes, would also increase the tribe's contribution to the local schools.
Thank you.
Further debate? Senator Winder.
Mr. President, for disclosure, under Rule 39H, wish to disclose and have it on the journal that I may have a possible conflict of interest on this.
Senator, we did this the other day. I think when I read the rules, I think you need to say what the conflict is.
I actually do some business with a consultant that works for the tribe.
That's perfect.
Thank you.
It'll be recorded in the journal. Further debate? Senator Johnson, for what reason do you rise?
To debate a second time, Mr. President.
Does any senator wish to debate for the first time? Senator Johnson is recognized to debate for the second time.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good senators, I would just offer to you that 5% of net revenues from the gaming proceeds are distributed throughout the community to school educations, districts, through the local education grants that are awarded by the tribe. The tribe has given over the Nez Perce tribe has given over $3 million to school districts located on and off the district, the reservation since 2004. Thank you, Mr. President.
Further debate? Hearing no further debate, Senator Keogh is recognized to close debate.
Thank you, Mr. President, and I appreciate the debate from the senator from 6 and as the Nez Perce is in his legislative district, as they are in a couple of other senators on the floor. And I appreciate the background knowledge that he offered about the Nez Perce tribe, and also appreciate him clarifying the answer to the senator from District 2. And Senator from 14, I agree 100%. We need to fix our liquor license system. I've been involved in that issue and supportive of trying to figure out what the correct answer to that is. In the meantime, however, I do believe that we need to take a look at the exceptions as they come through until we have the collective will to address the system as a whole and whatever answer that may be. Because as you know, that's in and of itself a thorny issue at best, and trying to make those folks that have the existing liquor licenses whole as we try to reform the system. In the meantime, I believe that House Bill 159 provides an opportunity to the Nez Perce tribe to better themselves. They are working very hard, as are all of Idaho's tribes, to provide for their tribal members, provide for moving into the future, and working in partnership with the state of Idaho as they do that. Again, I would say that this is a narrowly defined exemption. The tribe and other tribes that might want to utilize this section of code have to meet some requirements. The Nez Perce tribe works very diligently with alcohol beverage control to make sure that their servers are trained and that they are in control of the intake in their property. The tribes compete with like facilities across the border in Washington and the Spokane area, but they also compete for tourist dollars, tourists that throughout the Pacific Northwest, as there are many tourists that come to these facilities, be it the Kootenays or the Coeur d'Alenes or the Nez Perce, specifically for the opportunities that are provided there for gaming. And this conference facility will be a huge asset to the Lewis-Clark Valley. They have conference facilities there, but they are it can only attract a certain size of a conference. Beyond that, the conferences have to go elsewhere. And as in my private life, I do have to set up a couple of conferences each year, and it is very difficult when you get over 200 people for a conference attendee to find a facility, a quality facility that will suit your needs. And so this will be a economic boost to the entire valley, because with the 50-room hotel that Nez Perce has, there wouldn't be enough hotel rooms in that facility to accommodate the bigger conferences. But yet the tribe is investing in this conference facility to assist themselves and also assist the rest of the valley and the partnerships that they have with the local and state governments. And with that, Mr. President and Senators, I appreciate your consideration and ask for your aye vote. Debate is closed.
Debate being closed. Question is, so House Bill 159 passed the Senate. The Secretary will call the roll.
Bear, Bayer, Bach, Brackett, Buckner Webb, Cameron, Davis, Durst, Fulcher, Getty, Guthrie, Hagedorn, Hyder, Hill, Johnson, Keogh, Lacey, Lakey, Lodge, Martin, McKenzie, Mortimer, Nonini, Nuxel, Patrick, Pierce, Rice, Schmidt, Sidaway, Stennett, Thane, Tippett, Vick, Work, Winder, Davis, Fulcher, Lakey, Martin, McKenzie,
Roll call shows 27 ayes, 7 nays, 1 absent, excused. Majority having voted in the affirmative. House Bill 159 has passed the Senate. The correction title. Hearing none. Title is approved, and House Bill 159 will be returned to the House. Senate now has for final consideration.
Mr. President.
Senator Hagedorn.
Thank you, Mr. President. For a point of personal privilege.
You have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just to break us up just for a quick second, I'd like to welcome the Eagle High School.
Senator, that's a violation of the rules. We'll have to go at ease. Without objection, Senator will be at ease. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like us to welcome the Eagle High School, Mr. Gorell's American government class, for joining us today. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. President.
Senator Baer.
I'd like to recognize a former page of ours, Akira Keller, soon to be known by another last name, I understand, but if we could welcome her back.
Oh, I've got a bill. I have a bill. So, I didn't ask her to read it yet. Okay. Yeah, I was interrupted. Senate will come to order. Prior to going to the Senate was the 13th order of business. Senate at the 13th order of business has for final consideration House Bill 105. Secretary will read the bill.
House Bill number 105 by Judiciary Rules and Administration Committee, an act relating to the Sexual Offender Registration Act.
Mr. President.
Senator Lodge.
Mr. President, I ask unanimous consent that further reading of House Bill 105 be dispensed with, and the Journal show it has been read for the third time at length, section by section, and placed before the Senate for final consideration.
Hearing no objection, Senator Lodge is recognized to open debate.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good Senators, this bill is, House Bill 105 is for the Idaho Sheriff's Sex Offender Electronic Registration and Tracking System. And just for some background information for you, currently there are more than 3,900 registered sex offenders in Idaho. We also have 1,600 in our prisons. Convicted sex offenders are required to register annually. Violent sexual predators are required to register quarterly. A $40 registration fee is collected by sheriffs to pay for internal administrative costs. It's estimated that 10% of the sex offender fees are waived due to indigent, and most everyone is able to pay because they are required by probation to have jobs, and therefore they're able to pay. House Bill 105 authorizes the collection of an additional $40 per year to operate a sheriff's statewide sex offender registration and tracking system. Sheriffs are responsible for registering and tracking all sex offenders in Idaho. The sheriff's system will report to the Central Sex Offender Registry that is maintained by the Idaho State Police. The additional $40 fee will be used for the sheriff's system, not the ISP system. Currently, Ada, Bannock, Benawah, Bonner, Boundary, Canyon, Kootenai, Shoshone, and Twin Falls use the intended system called Offender Watch. However, until all 44 sheriffs use the system, ISP will not accept reporting via Offender Watch. So the reporting all is done by paper. Offender Watch is used in 35 states and by the U.S. Marshals Service, the federal agency charged with tracking and arresting sex offender absconders. Offender Watch currently registers over 50% of the nation's, this is a scary number, 736,717 sex offenders nationwide. All data is stored in Illinois at a secure facility compliant under the Criminal Justice Information System policies. A sheriff's statewide registration and tracking system will communicate among all 44 counties in a seamless fashion with sex offender information immediately available to law enforcement. Sheriffs will be able to instantly obtain data regarding sex offenders from other states who are moving into Idaho. Systems facilitates the electronic transfer of offender records from agency to agency. All data pertaining to sex offenders will be available to Idaho law enforcement immediately to ensure that the offender is living at their registered address and driving vehicles previously reported to law enforcement. The statewide system will empower law enforcement to more closely track sex offenders and ensure they register in a timely manner. Citizens can register for email alerts notifying them when an offender moves within a specific radius of their home. The system will cost about $145,000 annually, and it is estimated that this extra money will collect about $150,000. With that information, Mr. President, debate is open.
For the debate. Hearing no further debate, Senator Lodge is recognized to close debate.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good senators, this is supported by all the police departments in the state. And with that, thank you. Debate is closed.
Debate being closed. The question is, so House Bill 105 passed the Senate. Secretary will call the roll.
Bear. Bayer. Bach. Brackett. Buckner-Webb. Cameron. Davis. Durst. Fulcher. Getty. Guthrie. Hagedorn. Hyder. Hill. Johnson. Keogh. Lacey. Lakey. Lodge. Martin. McKenzie. Mortimer. Nonini. Nuxel. Patrick. Pierce. Rice. Schmidt. Sidaway. Stennett. Thane. Tippett. Fick. Work. Winder. Buckner-Webb. Durst. Hill. McKenzie. Mortimer.
Senator McKenzie, on the final passage of House Bill 105, how would you like to be recorded? Senator McKenzie will be recorded as voting aye. Roll call shows 35 ayes, no nays, no absence, excused. Majority haven't voted affirmative. House Bill 105 passed the Senate. The correction title. Hearing none, title is approved. House Bill 105 will be returned to the House. Senator Davis.
Unanimous consent. Senate return to the 10th order of business.
Without objection, Senate return to the 10th order of business. Senate's at the 10th order of business. Senator Davis.
Mr. President, I ask unanimous consent the President appoint an escort committee to escort into the Senate chambers Dennis Stevens, Consul General of Canada for the Pacific Northwest, for the purpose of sharing a message with the Idaho State Senate.
The President will appoint Senator McKenzie as chair and Senator Hagedorn and Work to escort Consul General Stevens to the well of the Senate. The Senate will be subject to call the chair. No. Senate will come to order. Prior to going to ease, the Senate was at the 10th order of business. The Senate's at the 10th order of business. Senator McKenzie. The committee is excused. Well, Consul General, it's wonderful to have you here. As always, you make a lot of trips to Boise and to talk to the legislature, and we welcome you to the Idaho Senate.
Thank you. Mr. President, Senator McKenzie, distinguished senators, thank you so much for the warm welcome, and I'm greatly honored by the opportunity to share a few words with you this morning about your relationship with Canada. I'd also like to congratulate you on the 150th anniversary of Idaho's officially becoming a U.S. territory. If you couldn't be part of Canada, we are delighted that you are right next door to us. It may seem very undiplomatic for me as a diplomat when I begin by observing another historic milestone, which is that 200 years ago, Canada and the United States were in the midst of something called the War of 1812. For Canada, the War of 1812 was a historic step in establishing itself as an independent country. But next year, we'll celebrate another important historic aspect of that war, which was the 200th anniversary of its conclusion and of peace between our two countries. Now, we think of our countries as young countries, but in the history of the world, that's a very, very long time for two countries who are next-door neighbors to have enjoyed peace between them. And in fact, we enjoy a great deal more. Through friendship, hard work, and shared values, we've created what may be the most successful bilateral relationship in history. Since the War of 1812, we've had a long and illustrious history as allies in security, and that continues today in NATO, in NORAD, and for 10 years in Afghanistan. Canada and the United States have one of the largest, most integrated, and most vibrant trading relationships in the world. Canada is Idaho's #1 trading partner, as well as for the United States as a whole. About 40,000 jobs in this state, 8 million across the United States, depend on this trade. Last year alone, Idaho businesses of all sorts, from semiconductor plants to farms to mines, exported more than $1.3 billion worth of goods to Canada. Now, as many of you know, our commercial ties go beyond finished products. We make things together for the global marketplace. We innovate together. We create jobs together. But we can't afford to coast, particularly given global competition, continuing economic uncertainty, and the urgent need in both our countries to create more jobs. So we need to ensure that the cross-border trade that's so vital to all of us continues to flow efficiently. It means we do need to avoid new barriers, including Buy American or Buy Canadian type policies that only impact our shared North American competitiveness. And we can do, and we are doing more. A little over a year ago, the governments of Canada and the United States announced 2 action plans to speed up legitimate trade and travel between our two countries. The Action Plan on Perimeter Security aims to make crossing the border more difficult for criminals and others who would do us harm, but easier for lawful businesses and those who want to visit family and friends. A second action plan focuses on regulatory cooperation to reduce the unnecessary paper burden for companies that want to do business in both countries. As our Prime Minister has said, these agreements could potentially be the most significant step since we signed the NAFTA together. We've made a lot of progress in implementing them, but there's a lot of work left to be done. I thank the Idaho legislature for the memorial it passed last spring in support of these agreements and for the contribution that a number of you have made to advancing them. But I'd really encourage you to continue to speak up and to provide your ideas. These are national initiatives, but in order to realize tangible benefits for people, they require state and local input. And so we really hope to hear from you about any ideas for how we can make it easier for people and businesses to do business across the border. And my team at the consulate will gratefully take those on. Now, one of the most exciting aspects of our relationship these days is our energy partnership. Canada is your largest supplier of all forms of imported energy: natural gas, electricity, uranium, and oil. Now, even with all of the energy development underway and anticipated in your country, U.S. energy self-sufficiency is likely a long way off. Canada's oil sands are the 3rd largest oil reserve in the world. And as existing technologies become commercially available, Canada's oil reserves could vault us ahead of Saudi Arabia and Venezuela. As such, they are a major resource for our shared North American energy security. In moving together towards North American energy self-sufficiency, we can send far few petrodollars to unfriendly, unreliable suppliers who take our money with one hand and threaten us with the other. Canada fully respects the right of the United States to make its own decisions where the proposed Keystone XL pipeline is concerned. But if your country so chooses, that pipeline would, at capacity, allow you to free yourself completely of oil imports from Venezuela. We will build it together, and that will create thousands of jobs and generate billions of revenues here in the United States. Some argue that by stopping Keystone, your country and the world will somehow move off oil. But the reality is that for the foreseeable future, oil will remain the dominant fuel. Moreover, the investments that Canadian industry and governments have made to improve the environmental aspects of oil sands development have been yielding results, a 30% reduction in greenhouse gas emissions over the past 2 decades. So as the United States makes its decision about Keystone, it's important that the full picture be taken into consideration. With Canada as a strong and willing partner, both of our countries have an extraordinary opportunity to work together in moving to a lower carbon future while taking advantage of the economic and energy security benefits from fossil fuel production, including Canada's oil sands. In this state alone, INL researchers and Canadian research organizations have been working on a number of energy projects, including cutting-edge hybrid energy systems that combine nuclear, fossil, and renewable resources. This can be the next great achievement in a partnership that has served and continues to serve our 2 countries so well. Thank you again for honoring Canada by inviting me here today, and thank you for your valued partnership and your friendship. I look forward to continuing to work together with you. Thank you.
Council General, we're good friends and great neighbors, and we appreciate the robust trade relationship we have with Canada, particularly our Western friends. And your participation in Penwar and the activity of these people in the legislature on both sides of the rotunda in Penwar, I'm sure are going to be a secret to our success going forward. So thank you again, and the committee is excused to escort the Council General from the chambers.
Mr. President, we have a couple other visitors from the Canadian Consul up in the gallery. They're just leaving there, so I wanted to catch them before they left and introduce them and thank them for coming. Kevin Cook and Harkiran Rajasansi. And we welcome them as well, being here together with them.
Wave at us, Kevin. Senate's in the 10th order of business.
There is no further business in the 10th order, Mr. President.
Senator Davis.
I ask unanimous consent to send advance to the 13th order of business.
Without objection, send advance to the 13th order of business. Senate's at the 13th order of business and has for final consideration House Bill 252. Secretary will read the bill.
In the House of Representatives, House Bill number 252 by Appropriations Committee, an act appropriating monies to the Department of Insurance for fiscal year 2014.
Mr. President.
Senator Lacey.
Mr. President, I ask unanimous consent that further reading of House Bill 252 be dispensed with, and the Journal show it has been read the 3rd time at length, section by section, and placed before the Senate for final consideration.
Hearing no objections, Senator Lacey is recognized to open debate.
Thank you. And good senators, think about skinny again here. House Bill 252 is the fiscal year 2014 appropriation for the Department of Insurance in the amount of $8,547,900, with full-time equivalent positions capped at 73. The Department of Insurance administers the Idaho Insurance Code and the International Fire Code. The department fulfills its mission and duties through 3 regulatory bureaus and an administrative group consisting of the Director's Office and supporting services. The Department of Insurance ongoing operations is funded by administering and collecting a tax assessed on all insurance premiums. This tax collected from authorized insurers is in lieu of all other state and local taxes, with the exception of real property tax per Section 41-405 Idaho Code. Any premium tax collection over 25% of the Department's appropriation is transferred to the general fund. The appropriation provides for increased cost of benefits and statewide cost allocation. It also provides an increase to replace 3 trucks, 16 laptop computers, 20 desktop computers, 12 docking stations, 48 monitors, 5 printers, 25 chairs, 2 scanners, and 2 half-blade servers. Finally, this budget provides for 3 line items. Line item 1 provides 1 FTP and $76,500 for a new financial analyst. The new analyst position will be working in the Insurance Regulation Division. Line item 2 provides $257,500 for additional contract examiner cost. Contract examiners are responsible for national certification requirements for the department. Contract costs are increasing significantly because of the increased changes in insurance coverage and demand for these specialists. Finally, line item 3 provides $10,600 for a Sheba call center. The call center concept is being piloted on a temporary basis during fiscal year 2013 using existing federal grant funds and surplus equipment. This provides $7,500 equipment purchases, which includes telephones, headsets, chairs, computers, monitors, and office equipment for 3 volunteers, and $3,100 in ongoing operating costs. With the 3 line items, this budget is a 4.7% increase above the fiscal year 2013 original appropriation. And with that, I would ask for your support.
Debate. Hearing no further debate, Senator Lacey is recognized to close debate.
Thank you. Debate is closed.
Debate being closed. Question is, so Senate Bill 252 passed. Senate Secretary will call the roll.
Baer. Bayer. Bach. Brackett. Buckner-Webb. Cameron. Davis. Durst. Fulcher. Getty. Guthrie. Hagedorn. Hyder. Hill. Johnson. Keogh. Lacey. Lakey. Lodge. Martin. McKenzie. Mortimer. Nonini. Nuxel. Patrick. Pierce. Rice. Schmidt. Sidaway. Stennett. Thane. Tippett. Vick. Work. Winder. Bach. Cameron. Durst. Pierce. Rice. Winder.
Mr. President,
Senator Hagedorn.
please change my vote to no.
Senator Hagedorn will be recorded as voting no. Roll call shows 27 ayes, 7 nays, 1 absent. Excused. Majority having voted affirmative. House Bill 252 is passed the Senate. The correction title. Hearing none. The title is approved. And House Bill 252 will be returned to the House. Senate now is from final consideration. House Bill 254. The Secretary will read the bill.
In the House of Representatives, House Bill Number 254 by Appropriations Committee, an act appropriating monies to the Department of Environmental Quality for fiscal year 2014, limiting the number of full-time equivalent positions, appropriating...
Mr. President.
Senator Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I ask unanimous consent that further reading of House Bill 254 be dispensed with, and the journal show that it's been read the 3rd time at length, section by section, and placed before the Senate for final consideration.
Hearing no objections, Senator Johnson is recognized to open debate.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senators, this is the fiscal year 2014 appropriation to the Department of Environmental Quality in the amount of $66,430,500. It limits the number of full-time equivalent positions to 360. The bill includes funding for the employer's share of increased costs for health insurance and retirement benefits, provides funding for replacement items, and accounts for an increase in statewide cost allocation. The bill also includes 4 line items. First, it provides $300,000 from the general fund to contract for a fish consumption study. The Environmental Protection Agency rejected the Department's water quality standard package that addresses human health for 88 toxic pollutants. The absence of an unbiased third-party investigation could result in the EPA setting criteria that are more stringent than the Idaho-specific fish consumption might indicate. Second, the bill includes $4 million in federal funds for yard remediation of contaminated properties in the Silver Valley. This funding would clean up an additional 60 to 70 properties by removing the top 6 to 12 inches of lead-contaminated soil and replacing it with clean soil. Third, the bill transfers $1.5 million from the Water Pollution Control Fund to the Environmental Remediation Basin Fund to act as the state's match of the Coeur d'Alene Basin remediation and provides legislative intent requiring an annual report regarding progress and expenditures involved. Fourth, the bill removes 16.05 unfunded positions and provides direction regarding employee compensation. In summary, the fiscal year 2014 appropriation to the Department of Environmental Quality is an increase of 3.9% for the general fund and a 7.2% increase for all funds. With that, Mr. President, debate is open.
Further debate? Hearing no further debate, Senator Johnson is recognized to close debate.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senators, I would just, briefly like to remind you that DEQ is a product of the Idaho legislature, created in the public's interest. Their mission statement is to protect human health and the environment as its sole mission. With that, Mr. President, debate is closed.
Debate being closed. Question is, shall House Bill 254 pass the Senate? Secretary will call the roll.
Bear. Bayer. Bach. Brackett. Buckner-Webb. Cameron. Davis. Durst. Fulcher. Getty. Guthrie. Hagedorn. Hyder. Hill. Johnson. Keogh. Lacey. Lakey. Lodge. Martin. McKenzie. Mortimer. Nonini. Nuxel. Patrick. Pierce. Rice. Schmidt. Sidaway. Stennett. Thane. Tippett. Fick. Work. Winder. Bach. Cameron. Lakey. Nonini. Nuxel. Pierce.
Roll call shows 30 ayes, 4 nays, 1 absent, excused. Majority having voted in the affirmative. House Bill 254 is passed the Senate. The correction of the title. Hearing none, the title is approved, and House Bill 254 will be returned to the House. Senate now is for final consideration. House Bill 262. The Secretary will read the bill.
In the House of Representatives, House Bill Number 262 by Appropriations Committee, an act appropriating additional monies to the Office of the State Appellate Public Defender for fiscal year 2013. Appropriating monies to the Office of the State Appellate.
Mr. President.
Senator Thane.
I'd ask for unanimous consent that further reading of House Bill 262 be dispensed with, and the journal show that it's been read at length, section by section, and placed before the Senate for proper consideration.
Hearing no objection, Senator Thane is recognized to open debate.
House Bill 262 is the budget for the State Appellate Public Defender, SAPD, for fiscal year 2013-14. It appropriates an additional $100,000 one-time general fund monies for fiscal year 2013 to cover capital litigation expenses and resolve a potential conflict of interest by hiring outside counsel. The bill also appropriates $2,073,600 from the general fund for fiscal year 2014. This represents a 1% increase. Full-time equivalent positions are limited to 23. The appropriation funds employee benefits and changes in statewide cost allocation plan. It also funds one line item and shifts $66,300 from operating expenditures to personnel costs to add one new appellate unit attorney due to the increased number of cases. And the rest of this talks about how caseload has increased over the last 3 or 4 years, and to pay outside counsel actually costs a lot more money rather than to increase the one full-time employee, which this bill does. And with that, I'd ask for your support.
Further debate? Hearing no further debate, Senator Thames recognized closed debate.
Debate is closed.
Debate being closed. Question is, shall House Bill 262 pass the Senate? Secretary will call the roll.
Baer. Bayer. Bach. Brackett. Buckner-Webb. Cameron. Davis. Durst. Fulcher. Getty. Guthrie. Hagedorn. Hyder. Hill. Johnson. Keogh. Lacey. Blakey. Lodge. Martin. McKenzie. Mortimer. Nonini. Nuxel. Patrick. Pierce. Rice. Schmidt. Sidaway. Stennett. Thane. Tippett. Vick. Work. Winder. Cameron. Nonini.
Roll call shows 34 ayes, no nays, one absent, excused, majority having voted affirmative. House Bill 262 is passed the Senate. The correction title, hearing none. Title is approved. House Bill 262 will be returned to the House. Send House for final consideration. House Bill 263. The Secretary will read the bill.
In the House of Representatives, House Bill number 263 by Appropriations Committee, an act appropriating monies to the Attorney General for fiscal year 2014.
Mr. President.
Senator Lacey.
Mr. President, I ask unanimous consent that further reading of House Bill 263 be dispensed with, and the journal show it has been read the third time at length, section by section, and placed before the Senate for final consideration.
Without objection, Senator Lacey is recognized to open debate.
Thank you, President and good senators. House Bill 263 is the appropriation to the Attorney General for fiscal year 2014. The bill appropriates $17,401,500 from the general fund, $404,100 from dedicated funds, and $1,051,400 from federal funds for a total of $18,857,000. This represents a general fund increase of 5.4%, but an overall increase of 0.7%. Full-time equivalent positions are authorized at 188.1. The budget includes funding for employee benefits, replacement computers, changes in the statewide cost allocation plan, and for Attorney General compensation as prescribed in Section 1, Chapter 264, Laws of 2010. Line items include shifting 4.5 positions and $341,600 from the Professional Services Fund to the General Fund, and shifting one position in Fish and Game and $109,600 from the Consumer Protection Fund to the General Fund to make them consistent with the statewide cost allocation plan. 3 unfunded vacant positions are removed. In addition, $100,800 is provided from the General Fund to fill one unfunded and vacant Deputy Attorney General position for the Idaho State Police, and another $100,800 is provided from the General Fund to fill one unfunded and vacant Deputy Attorney General position for the Idaho Transportation Department. The Attorney General also received $64,700 from the General Fund to fill one unfunded vacant paralegal position for the State Tax Commission to address an expanding workload. 2 1/2 unfunded vacant positions and all remaining spending authority from the professional services were removed from this budget. Finally, intent language is included in this bill that directs the Division of Financial Management to recalculate the fees for legal services provided by the Attorney General to the statewide cost allocation plan for the Idaho Transportation Department, Department of Health and Welfare, and the Military Division. These agencies will no longer pay the Attorney General directly, but rather provide payment to the General Fund. The Division of Financial Management is also directed to collect additional legal fees in the amount of $100,800 from the Idaho Transportation Department and $100,800 from the Idaho State Police, in addition to all other Attorney General fees calculated for statewide cost allocation in fiscal year 2014. With the exception of the Tax Commission paralegal, all other general fund line items are revenue neutral. And with that, Mr. President, debate is open.
Further debate? Hearing no further debate, Senator Lacey is recognized to close debate.
Thank you, Mr. President. Debate is closed.
Debate being closed, the question is, House Bill 263 passes the Senate. The Secretary will call the roll.
Bear, Bayer, Bach, Brackett, Buckner-Webb, Cameron, Davis, Durst, Fulcher, Getty, Guthrie, Hagedorn, Hyder, Hill, Johnson, Keogh, Lacey, Lakey, Lodge, Martin, McKenzie, Mortimer, Nonini, Nuxel, Patrick, Pierce, Rice, Schmidt, Sidaway, Stennett, Thane, Tippett, Fick, Work, Winder, Bach, Cameron, Pierce,
Roll call shows 33 ayes, 2 nays, no absence, excused. Majority having voted in the affirmative. House Bill 263 is passed the Senate. The correction title. Hearing none. Title is approved. House Bill 263 will be returned to the House. Senate now is for final consideration. House Bill 43. Secretary will read the bill.
In the House of Representatives, House Bill number 43 by Commerce and Human Resources Committee. An act relating...
Senator Martin.
Mr. President, I ask that further reading I ask unanimous consent that further reading of House Bill 43 to be dispensed with, and the journal shows been read the third time at length, section by section, and placed before the Senate for final consideration.
Hearing no objection, Senator Martin is recognized to open debate.
Mr. President and fellow senators, House Bill 43 amends the membership of the Economic Advisory Council to clarify that no more than 4 members from any one political party can serve. It is consistent with other boards and councils. The legislation also includes cleanup language to confirm that the Advisory Council members serve at the pleasure of the gentleman on the second floor. There is no fiscal impact. Mr. President, debate is open.
Further debate? Hearing no further debate, Senator Martin is recognized to close debate.
Mr. President, debate is closed.
Debate being closed. Question is, so Senate House Bill 43 passed. Senate Secretary will call the roll.
Bear, Bayer, Bach, Brackett, Buckner-Webb, Cameron, Davis, Durst, Fulcher, Getty, Guthrie, Hagedorn, Hyder, Hill, Johnson, Keogh, Lacey, Lakey, Lodge, Martin, McKenzie, Mortimer, Nonini, Nuxel, Patrick, Pierce, Rice, Schmidt, Sidaway, Stennett, Thane, Tippett, Fick, Work, Winder, Bach, Davis, Hagedorn, Hill, Keogh, Winder,
Roll call shows 30 ayes, 2 nays, 3 absent, excused. Majority have voted affirmative. House Bill 43 is passed the Senate. The correction title. Hearing none. Title is approved. House Bill 43 will be return to the House. Senate now has for final consideration House Bill 100. The Secretary will read the bill.
In the House of Representatives, House Bill Number 100 by Business Committee, an act relating to the Idaho Opportunity Fund, to provide a short title and legislative intent, to provide rulemaking authority to the Director of the Department of Commerce.
Senator Tippett.
Mr. President, I ask unanimous consent that further reading of House Bill 100 be dispensed with, and the journal show it's been read the third time at length, section by section, and placed before the Senate for final consideration.
Hearing no objection, Senator Tippett is recognized to open debate.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senators, House Bill 100 is the culmination of nearly a year's worth of research by the Idaho Department of Commerce to develop a framework for an economic development tool that will make Idaho more competitive in supporting the expansion of existing Idaho companies and attracting new companies to the state. I recently learned that Idaho has a fund that can be used to help incentivize businesses to stay in Idaho or to relocate to Idaho. The formal name of the fund is the Business and Jobs Development Fund, but the fund is also referred to as the Director's Fund because the Director of Department of Commerce has sole discretion on how those funds are awarded. That fund receives an ongoing appropriation in the amount of $400,000 in the Department of Commerce budget. I want to emphasize that that money can be awarded solely at the discretion of the Director of the Department of Commerce. The Department has spent the last year gathering information from other states about best practices that effectively promote business retention, expansion, and attraction while simultaneously protecting the investment of taxpayer dollars. Based on their research, they've come up with a better way to operate than our current practice. House Bill 100 is a much better way to operate, and if it becomes law, the $400,000 in the Business and Jobs Development Fund will roll over into the fund created by House Bill 100, the Idaho Opportunity Fund, and will be managed according to the guidelines set forth in this legislation. The gentleman on the second floor recommended an additional $3 million be appropriated to this new fund, and I understand that JFAC included that amount in the Department of Commerce budget, but this bill does not appropriate that money. That's, of course, an appropriation bill. This bill simply sets up the fund and establishes the rules related to how those funds can be used. So let's examine the bill and look at how the fund would operate. Under House Bill 100, grants would only be awarded to municipalities, to cities or counties. No money would be directly awarded to companies, as is often the case with incentives that are provided by other states. In addition, it's intended that grant funds would be used to fund infrastructure projects only. The examples mentioned in the legislation beginning at the top of page 2 are these: construction of or improvement to new or existing water, sewer, gas, or electric utility systems for new or existing buildings to be used for industrial or commercial operations, flood zone or environmental hazard mitigation, and construction, upgrade, or renovation of other infrastructure-related items, including but not limited to railroads, broadband, parking lots, roads, or other public costs that are directly related to specific job creation or expansion projects. Ensuring that grant funds are only awarded to municipalities for infrastructure-related projects ensures that, in a worst-case scenario, if the business doesn't prove to be viable, the investment remains in assets for the community that can be used to support future industrial development and business growth. Other key components of the Opportunity Fund include a community match, for one. The city or county would be required to match the state's investment to ensure that the local community has some skin in the game and is an equal partner in making the business expansion or attraction project a success. You'll find that language, Senators, on line 6 on page 3. The local match may include, but is not limited to, money fee waivers, in-kind services, donation of assets, the provision of infrastructure, or a combination thereof. The Director does, however, have the option to waive the local match requirement, and we think that's important to make sure that small rural communities, for example, aren't excluded from the program because they aren't able to come up with a match. The fund also requires negotiated agreements be entered into between interested parties. Cities and counties would be required to enter into an agreement with a grantee business. The bill includes a fairly lengthy list of potential components that could be included in that agreement. Those provisions are found on page 2, beginning on line 15. You notice that line 17 says that the agreement may contain the following provisions. The nature of these agreements is left quite flexible, so the agreement can be customized for the specific needs of each situation. The list of optional agreement provisions includes the following. 1, a commitment to create or retain a specified number of jobs within a specified salary range at a specific location. A commitment regarding the time period in which the jobs will be created or retained and the minimum time period for which the jobs must be maintained. A commitment to complete the construction related to the agreed upon capital expenditures. A provision that a reasonable percentage of the total amount of the grant be withheld until specified performance targets are met. A provision establishing a method for determining compliance with the agreement. There are other potential components that are listed as well. One provision, one of these components, has raised some questions by at least one person that I'm aware of, and that's item H on line 35 of page 2. Again, this is one item in the list of potential, so it's not mandatory that it be included, but it could be. And that item says, a provision allowing the director or the local government to inspect all records of the business that may be used to confirm compliance with the agreement or with the requirements of the Act. Some may not be comfortable with allowing the state to inspect business records, but let me just remind you that this is an optional provision. If it's included in the agreement, of course, the business would be made aware of it up front and could certainly choose not to enter into the agreement if that was a requirement. It makes sense to me that the local government entity have a way to verify compliance with the performance measures that are agreed to in the agreement. The legislation also mandates another agreement. The agreement we've just been talking about is with the local government entity and the grantee business. But it also mandates that there be an agreement between the Department of Commerce and the city or county that's involved. You'll find the language related to this agreement starting on line 3 of page 3 of the bill. Unlike the agreement between the city or county and the grantee business, the list of provisions to be included in the agreement between the Department of Commerce and the city or county is mandatory, with one exception. These provisions are listed on lines 6 through 27 of page 3. And let me review those with you quickly. We've already talked about a local government match. That's item A in the list. And the director can waive that requirement, as I mentioned previously. That's the one optional item that's listed there. Item B mandates a provision requiring the local government to recapture any funds to which the local government is entitled under the company performance agreement. C requires repayment from the local government to the department for any funds used for unapproved purposes or if the funds are dispersed prematurely. D requires a provision that allows the department access to the records possessed by the local government entity that are used to assure compliance with the agreement. And E mandates establishing a schedule for the disbursement of funds. F simply allows other provisions that the department deems necessary to ensure proper use of state funds. I think, Senators, that it's important to recognize that under these agreements, the intention is to not distribute grant money until a company has delivered on its promise for job creation or retention, capital investment, or what the other goals are. In addition, a portion of the grant could be retained for a period of time, up to a number of years, for example, to ensure that job commitments are maintained in the long term. With these changes, the state would no longer be the first money in on an economic development project. Rather, the state would be partners with the company and the community to ensure that promised milestones are achieved before funds are deployed. House Bill 100 also adds greater transparency and oversight to the grant process by requiring the Department of Commerce to report annually to the legislature and the gentleman on the second floor, along with quarterly reporting to the existing Idaho Economic Advisory Council that oversees several of the department's other grant programs. The department tells me that they're developing a series of reporting measures to publicly report on the economic impact of Opportunity Fund grants. They anticipate being able to come back to us next year and demonstrate job creation, capital investment, leverage ratio, break-even calculations, and revenues returned to the state and local communities as a result of these investments. Now, Senators, I admit that I have been skeptical of grant programs to lure new businesses to the state in the past. I've been concerned with the potential to take taxpayer dollars and use them to provide incentives for a business located outside the state to locate here in the state, giving the new business a competitive advantage over the business that's been in the state potentially for a long time. But I like this program. It takes our existing funds, the Business and Jobs Development Fund, which again the Director now controls, and provides appropriate requirements related to how the money can be used. And I like the fact that the money is used for infrastructure rather than providing the money directly to the business, as many incentive plans do, and many states operate that way. And I guess one of the bill's greatest strengths in my mind is the fact that grants can be used to help retain existing businesses or to help them expand. Most of the new jobs created in this state come from businesses that are already here expanding, not from new businesses moving into the state, though those jobs are certainly welcome as well. The Department tells me that whether we like them or not, to be competitive in attracting and retaining businesses, we have to play in the arena of incentives. Cities, counties, and other states are competing fiercely to attract new businesses to their areas, and our Idaho companies are not immune to these aggressive efforts by other states. The Idaho Opportunity Fund would be a big step forward in putting Idaho on the map for site selectors and corporate executives who are evaluating many locales to expand or relocate their businesses. Once they come to Idaho for a visit, the Director says he's confident they'll learn that Idaho makes sense for them because of our low energy costs, a competitive tax structure, a strong work ethic, and a tremendous quality of life. I agree with him. Senators, I think this bill makes significant improvements to our process of awarding grants to attract and retain business in the state, and I would encourage your support. Mr. President, with that, debate is open.
For the debate.
Senator O'Neill.
Thank you, Mr. President. Would the good senator from 32 yield?
Senator Tippett.
Mr. President, I would yield.
Senator for the inquiry.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good senator, in my area of the state, the northern Idaho area, we have a number of urban renewal agencies that through tax increment financing pull off taxpayer dollars, keep them within the agency, and use those dollars for infrastructure improvement, and also advertise that portion for sometimes business recruitment. Are you aware of any workings within the urban renewal arena in this possible fund, or aware of anything to how these might work together? Or are we doubling up? Or any light you can shed on that?
Senator Tippett.
Mr. President and Senator from 3, I'm sorry, Senator, I'm not aware of any discussions, and I certainly didn't have any discussions with the Department about how those different funds might interact and how those programs might be cooperative.
Thank you, Senator. Thank you, Mr. President.
For the debate, Senator Getty.
Mr. President, I sit on the board of Jobs Plus, which is the economic development arm in North Idaho, or at least in Kootenai County. I did have a letter from them endorsing this program. And, Senators, I'd characterize this difference in what we've seen before as the difference between appetizers and dessert. All too often, we've been putting out their appetizers for companies to come to this state. And this program provides the reward, the dessert, after they're here and they've fulfilled their commitment. It's a good bill, should pass. Thank you.
For the debate, Senator Bayer.
Thank you, Mr. President. I agree that this is a very good measure, and I have a lot of respect and compliments to the effort in the department and the partnerships, and I quite frankly think it is appropriate to invest monies in this fashion into infrastructure, and we do have that authority, as mentioned in the statement of purpose, to implement those monies currently, and I do appreciate the efforts to codify this. I do have one concern, unfortunately, even though there are a lot of mays in the language. The good senator from 32 was kind enough to point out subsection H, the provision about allowing the director or the local governments to inspect all records of the business that may be used to confirm compliance with the agreement. And I realize that rules can be promulgated to meet those needs, and I appreciate that as well. And I do appreciate the director. My concern is that in this case, I'd like to see some shalls so that it's very clear as the path moves forward with the business that what records are applicable to an agreement are up front, and I would like to see that codified. So with all due respect to the effort and much appreciation to the director, I think that we have to look into the future as we have different individuals charged with these responsibilities, including the local government provision. And with that, I do have a significant concern with that one provision, but I did want to also express my appreciation for the overall effort. Thank you, Mr. President.
For the debate. Hearing Senator Davis.
Mr. President, I ask unanimous consent. St. Go at ease.
Without objection, Senator be at ease. Senate will come to order. Prior to going to the Senate was at the 13th order of business and had for final consideration House Bill 100. Opening debate was opened up. Senator Davis.
Unanimous consent request, Mr. President.
You have the floor, Senator.
Pursuant to Senate Rule 9, I ask unanimous consent that the following clerical correction and typographical errors be corrected. Page 2, line 28. It says, grant be withheld until the specified number of jobs. Insert between number and jobs the word of, and at the end of that line, it currently has the article "an." We would strike the letter "n," so it would read, maintained for a specified period of time.
You've heard the unanimous consent request from the English major. Are there any objections? Hearing none, so ordered. For the debate. Good catch. Senator Tippett, you're recognized to close debate.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senators, appreciate the comments of the senator from 21. Let me just make sure that we all are very clear on this issue of records being inspected by local government entities. I want to refer you to another may on line 17 of page 2. There, that may is referring to this list of provisions that may be included in the agreement between the local government entity, the city or county, and the grantee business. So it's not mandating that H be a part of that agreement, but it certainly may be. And if it is a part of that agreement, it's simply saying that that local government entity would have the right to confirm compliance with the agreement by inspecting all records that are used to confirm that compliance. So we're not talking about all the business records, just the records we need to look at, they need to look at to make sure that they're complying. Obviously, that would be stipulated up front. The grantee business would be agreeing to that up front as part of this if it were included in the agreement. Senators, as I mentioned previously, we currently have funds available and we have the ability to award these funds at the sole discretion of the director. This puts a much more rigorous process behind use of those funds. I think it's a major step forward. I compliment the department for looking at how other states handled these incentives, taking what they thought were the best practices from these states and incorporating those practices into this bill. Senators, I would encourage your support. Thank you very much. The debate is closed, Mr. President.
Debate being closed. Question is, so House Bill 100 passed the Senate. Secretary will call the roll.
Baer. Bayer. Bach. Brackett. Buckner-Webb. Cameron. Davis. Durst. Fulcher. Getty. Guthrie. Hagedorn. Hyder. Hill. Johnson. Keogh. Lacey. Lakey. Lodge. Martin. McKenzie. Mortimer. Nonini. Nuxall. Patrick. Pierce. Rice. Schmidt. Sitaway. Stennett. Thane. Tippett. Vick. Work. Winder. Bach. Brackett. Buckner-Webb. Nuxall. Schmidt. Vick.
Roll call shows 29 ayes, 6 nays, no absence, excused, majority having voted affirmative. House Bill 100 passed the Senate. The correction title, hearing none, title is approved, and House Bill 100 will be returned to the House. Senator Davis.
Mr. President, I ask unanimous consent in advance to the 15th order of business.
That objection, Senate advance 15th order of business. Miscellaneous business adjournment. Senate at the 15th order of business. Senator Davis.
Mr. President, Senators, we will soon adjourn until the hour of 9:30 a.m. tomorrow. We have invited the family members and friends of our deceased military officers and servicemen that lost their lives to join us tomorrow. They'll start showing up at about 11:15. We'll come in at 9:30, and from 9:30 to about 11:15, we will do our various orders of business. We will go into the 10th order and grab the other items other than SCR 124. We will go into the amending order and pick up the bills that have X's on them tomorrow morning. It's our intent also to go into the third reading calendar and grab the remaining 5 bills that are there in the third reading calendar as well. We do need to have as close to a hard stop time tomorrow at noon as possible. However, I do want you to feel the freedom to stand and express your feelings as we address SCR 124. Once we are complete with that concurrent resolution tomorrow, we will adjourn for the weekend until Monday. Prior to adjournment today, I ask if there are introductions or announcements.
Announcements. Senator Hill.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just a reminder, we'll begin our committee chair meeting immediately upon adjournment.
Further announcements. Senator Winder.
Thank you, Mr. President. Sorry, since we didn't make it to the 14th today, we do intend to go into it first thing in the morning tomorrow. So please have your amendments into the Secretary by 4 p.m. today. Thank you.
Further announcements.
Mr. President, just for a quick announcement, there will be a meeting of the Joint Legislative Oversight Committee this afternoon at 4:30 in the auditorium. We're evaluating topics this afternoon for future studies.
Further announcements. Senator Davis.
Mr. President, Senators, a friend of mine here on the floor reminded me that there is meatloaf downstairs, and we are going to adjourn before the House. So hurry down and grab your meatloaf. Mr. President, I move that the Senate adjourn till the hour of 9:30 a.m. tomorrow.
Senator Stinnett.
Second the motion.
Been moved and seconded. The Senate adjourned till 9:30 tomorrow. All in favor say aye. All opposed nay. The ayes have it. We are adjourned.